deep dive into something you all sent in. And I have to say, I was a little bit skeptical. It's this YouTube video called The Bible's Hidden Millionaire Secrets Revealed. Millionaire secrets in the Bible. I don't know about you, but
Yeah.
I was picturing some like prosperity gospel televangelist situation.
Right.
But hey, I'm always open to exploring new ideas, and who knows, maybe there's some actual wisdom to be found here.
I think it'll be really interesting to see what we find. We often think about wealth and spirituality as being kind of opposed to one another, but
Yeah.
maybe there's some common ground there.
Yeah, maybe. So let's jump in. This video starts out really strong on the importance of mindset. There's this quote right at the beginning that says, "The journey to financial success starts with your mindset."
Mm.
And then later it says, "Thoughts shape reality."
It's almost like they took that straight out of a modern self-help book.
Right. Total abundance mindset vibes.
Exactly.
Mm.
Like that whole idea of believing in the possibility of abundance rather than focusing on scarcity.
I'm curious, what do you think about that whole thoughts shape reality thing?
Well, I think there's definitely something to be said for the power of our beliefs.
Mm.
If you constantly tell yourself, I'll never be wealthy, you're probably right. But if you believe in the possibility of abundance, you might be more likely to take risks, to pursue opportunities,
Yeah.
to actually make choices that support your financial goals.
Yeah, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing.
Mhm.
But, okay, the video doesn't stop at mindset. It goes on to talk about this concept of stewardship.
Hmm.
And it uses the parable of the talents from the Bible as an example.
Oh, yeah, that's a really interesting one.
So for those who haven't heard this parable,
Right.
it's basically about this master who gives different amounts of money to his servants.
Mm.
And the ones who invest that money and multiply it are rewarded, while the one who buries his money out of fear is punished.
Exactly.
So the message here seems to be about using what we have wisely, right? Not just hoarding it,
Absolutely.
but making it grow.
It's about taking responsibility for what we've been given, and that could be money. It could be talents. It could be opportunities.
I like that. It's not just about finances either. It's like a broader philosophy of maximizing what we have.
Yeah.
Like being mindful of how we use our time, our energy, our resources, even thinking about things like sustainable living or conscious consumerism.
Right. It's like taking that principle of stewardship and applying it to all areas of life.
Exactly. Okay, but buckle up, because the next part of the video is where things get really interesting. It's this whole idea about generosity actually attracting wealth. Like the more you give, the more you get back.
The generosity paradox.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was hooked when I heard that. So the video talks about tithing, giving 10% of your income as a way to unlock blessings.
Mm-hmm.
And it even quotes that verse from Malachi that says, "Test me in this and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven."
Wow.
But I think it's important to point out that the video isn't just talking about giving money. It's about generosity in all forms, time skills, compassion. It's like that whole idea of what you put out into the world comes back to you.
And even from a purely practical standpoint, generosity can have a ripple effect.
Mhm.
When you help others, you build relationships, you create goodwill, and sometimes those things come back to you in unexpected ways.
Totally. And there's a growing body of research on the psychological benefits of generosity, too. Increased happiness, sense of purpose, that kind of thing.
Exactly. So maybe there really is something to this idea that giving can actually create more abundance in our lives.
Okay, so we've got mindset, stewardship, and generosity. But then the video gets into some more practical advice on managing money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it uses all these quotes from Proverbs like, "The wise store up choice food and olive oil," which sounds a lot like saving for the future, right?
It does, like building up your reserve.
Exactly. And then there's another one from Ecclesiastes that says, "Invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land."
Mm.
Diversification.
Wow, they were talking about diversification back then.
Apparently. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread your risk. Be prepared for the unexpected. Pretty solid advice, even by today's standards.
It's amazing how these ancient proverbs can still be so relevant.
Right. Who knew such timeless financial advice was hidden within the Bible?
Well, that's what makes this deep dive so interesting. You never know what you're going to find.
Okay, so we've covered mindset, stewardship, generosity, and even some practical tips on saving and investing. But the video doesn't stop there. It goes on to tackle this pretty big topic, debt.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and it does so with this pretty strong warning from Proverbs. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender.
That's a pretty intense image.
It is. It really highlights the potential downsides of debt, especially if it starts to control your life and limit your choices.
Right. But I think it's also important to acknowledge that debt can be a tool for growth. Like if you're using it strategically for investments or business ventures.
Yeah, I agree. It's not necessarily about avoiding debt altogether, but about being mindful of how you use it and
Yeah.
making sure you have a solid plan for managing it responsibly.
Exactly. It's about being in the driver's seat when it comes to your finances.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Mindset, stewardship, generosity, practical tips on saving, investing, and even the complexities of debt. But the video goes even further. It explores this really intriguing idea about the power of words to actually influence our financial reality.
Really?
Yeah, it quotes Proverbs again. It says,
Yeah.
"The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit."
So like our words have a tangible impact on our experiences.
Exactly. So instead of saying, "I can't afford that," the video suggests saying something like, "I'm working towards being able to afford that." It's about shifting your language from a place of lack to a place of possibility.
That's interesting. And it actually aligns with some of the research on positive self-talk and its effects on our brains and behavior.
Right. So maybe there's more to this ancient wisdom than we realize.
Maybe so.
It really makes you wonder if our words have such power. How can we use them more intentionally to shape our financial reality?
That's a great question. And I think it's one we'll continue to explore as we dive deeper into these biblical millionaire secrets.
It is a good question, and we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to uncover. So stick with us as we continue our deep dive. You won't want to miss what we find next.
I'm definitely intrigued. Welcome back to our exploration of these biblical millionaire secrets. It's been pretty fascinating so far.
It has, and I'm curious to see where we go next. We talked about mindset, stewardship, generosity, even some practical tips on saving and managing debt, but I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah, there's definitely more to unpack. I think one of the things that's really interesting about this video is how it weaves together practical advice with this kind of spiritual dimension.
Oh, totally. Like there's this part where it talks about seeking God's guidance in your financial decisions. It even quotes a verse from James that says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you."
Hmm. Like having a divine financial advisor.
Right. But on a more serious note, I think what the video is getting at here is the importance of connecting with something larger than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Tapping into a source of wisdom and guidance that goes beyond your own understanding.
Yeah, and that doesn't necessarily have to be about a specific religious belief. It could be about connecting with your intuition, your values, or even just taking some time for quiet reflection before making big financial decisions.
That makes sense. And speaking of reflection, the video also touches on this concept of contentment, which I think is really interesting. It quotes a passage from Philippians where the Apostle Paul says, "I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation."
Contentment.
Mm.
That's a word that can be easily misunderstood.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Some people might hear that and think it means settling for less, giving up on your ambitions.
Right. But I don't think that's what the video is suggesting. It seems to be more about finding a sense of inner peace and gratitude, regardless of your external circumstances.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that true happiness doesn't solely depend on how much money you have. It's about appreciating what you have in the present moment while still striving for growth and abundance.
I like that, appreciating what you have while still striving for more. It's like finding that sweet spot between gratitude and ambition.
Exactly. And I think that's an important point because the video also cautions against becoming too attached to money. There's that famous line from Matthew that says, "No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money."
Wow, that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that money can be a powerful force, and it's easy to get caught up in the pursuit of it.
For sure. So the challenge is to use money as a tool for good, rather than letting it become your master.
Right? Keeping your priorities in check and recognizing that true wealth encompasses so much more than just financial abundance.
Okay, so we've talked about seeking guidance, cultivating contentment, and being mindful of our relationship with money. But what about the video's emphasis on leaving a legacy, not just for your children, but for future generations?
That's a really important point. And it's not just about passing down money. It's about passing down values, wisdom, a sense of purpose. The video quotes a passage from Psalms that says, "Blessed are those who fear the Lord, who find great delight in his commands. Their children will be mighty in the land. The generation of the upright will be blessed." Wealth and riches are in their houses, and their righteousness endures forever.
It's like building something that lasts beyond your own lifetime,
Hmm.
making a positive impact that ripples outward through time.
Exactly. And I think this idea of legacy can be incredibly motivating. It encourages us to think beyond our own immediate needs and consider the long-term consequences of our actions.
Okay, so we've explored some of the more spiritual aspects of this video, seeking guidance, cultivating contentment, being mindful of our relationship with money, and building a legacy. But now I'm kind of curious to dive back into the practical advice, like how to actually make our money work for us.
Me too. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
All right, so the video's got some surprisingly relevant tips on everything from saving and investing
Hmm.
to managing debt and even harnessing the power of positive self-talk.
Okay, let's start with saving.
Mm.
What does it say about that?
Well, it uses this really vivid analogy from Proverbs. It says, "The wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down."
Hmm. I see what they're doing there.
Right.
Eh,
Like, don't just blow all your resources on immediate gratification. Think ahead, plan for the future, build a safety net.
exactly. And it connects this idea of saving with the concept of investing. There's that verse from Ecclesiastes that says, invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. It's talking about diversification, spreading your risk, being prepared for the unexpected.
Wow, diversification. That's like a core principle of modern investing. It's amazing to think that these ancient texts were already talking about such sophisticated financial strategies.
I know, right? It's like we're uncovering these hidden gems of financial wisdom.
Totally. But okay, let's talk about debt. The video doesn't shy away from that either.
Oh no, what does it say?
It quotes Proverbs again, saying, "The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender."
Yikes, that's a pretty stark warning.
Yeah, it really highlights the potential downsides of debt, especially if it starts to control your life.
Right. But I think the video also acknowledges that debt can be a tool for growth. Like if
Mm.
you're using it strategically for investments or a business.
Exactly. The key is to use it wisely and have a plan for managing it responsibly.
Okay, so debt can be good or bad depending on how you use it.
Right. But enough about debt. Let's talk about something a little more fun. The power of words.
Oh yeah, this is where it gets interesting.
So the video quotes Proverbs again. It says, "The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit."
So basically, our words have a real impact.
Exactly. So instead of saying, "I'm broke," the video suggests saying something like, "I'm in the process of building my wealth."
Interesting. So it's about shifting your language from a place of lack to a place of possibility.
Exactly. And there's actually some really interesting research that backs this up.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, there's a growing body of evidence suggesting that our thoughts and words can actually influence our brain chemistry and our behavior.
So maybe there really is something to this whole speak it into existence thing.
Maybe so. It's
Um,
pretty fascinating to think about.
It is, and it makes you wonder, how else can we use our words more intentionally to shape our financial reality?
Right, and not just our financial reality, but our lives in general.
Absolutely. But I think it's important to note that the video doesn't just focus on individual efforts. It also emphasizes the importance of relationships and collaboration.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Like, it quotes Ecclesiastes saying, "Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor."
Exactly. It's about
Right.
recognizing that we're not meant to go it alone. We thrive when we connect with others, share our resources, and support each other's success.
And it also talks about the value of mentorship. There's that verse from Proverbs that says, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another."
I love that.
Yeah.
It's so true. Find people who inspire you, who challenge you to grow.
Yeah, surround yourself with people who lift you up and encourage you to reach your full potential.
Exactly. And I think this idea of collaboration and mentorship really ties into the concept of building a legacy that extends beyond your own lifetime.
It does. It's about using your resources, your knowledge, your influence to make a positive impact on the world.
And leave a legacy that inspires generations to come.
Exactly. So as we're getting close to wrapping up this part of our deep dive, I'm curious to hear what's resonating most with you.
Yeah. What's standing out as particularly insightful or thought-provoking?
That's a good question. There's so much to consider, but I think what's really striking me is it's kind of amazing how much we've managed to unpack from this video about biblical millionaire secrets.
I know, right? We've covered so much ground, from mindset and stewardship to generosity and even the power of words.
And it all ties together so well. It's not just about financial strategies. It's like a whole philosophy of living a more purposeful and fulfilling life.
Absolutely. And I think one of the key takeaways for me is how this video challenges us to really rethink our relationship with wealth.
Oh, for sure. Like, it's not about demonizing money or even glorifying it. It's about finding that balance.
Mm.
Seeing wealth as a tool, a resource that can be used for good or for bad,
Yeah.
depending on your intentions and actions.
Yeah. It's about aligning your financial goals with your values, recognizing that true prosperity comes from living in integrity
Mm.
and contributing to something larger than yourself.
Yeah, and that's where I think that whole mindset piece comes in.
Mhm.
Remember how the video talked about the power of belief?
Oh, yeah.
That our thoughts can actually shape our reality?
Like cultivating an abundance mindset, believing in the possibility of achieving your financial goal.
Exactly, and trusting that you have the resources and support to make it happen.
Yeah. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
If you believe you can achieve something, you're more likely to take the steps to make it happen.
Right. And it's not just about positive thinking. It's about aligning your beliefs with your actions. If you believe in abundance, you're more likely to make choices that support that belief, like saving, investing, being generous with your resources.
Absolutely. Speaking of generosity, I love how the video presents this idea that giving isn't about depleting your resources,
Right.
but it's actually a catalyst for abundance.
That generosity paradox, it's so powerful. The idea that when you give freely, whether it's your time, your money, your talents, you create this positive flow of energy that comes back to you in unexpected ways.
Right. Have you ever experienced that?
Oh, totally. Sometimes it feels like the more I give, the more I receive.
Mm.
Not always in a material sense, but in terms of opportunities, relationships, a sense of fulfillment.
Exactly. And I think that speaks to this interconnectedness of everything. When we contribute to the well-being of others, we're ultimately contributing to our own well-being as well.
It's like a ripple effect. Our actions, even small acts of kindness, can have this positive impact that extends far beyond ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's not always easy to maintain that generous spirit, especially when you're feeling stressed or financially insecure.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's where I think the video's advice about seeking wisdom and guidance comes in.
Right, like taking the time to pray, meditate, study scriptures, even seeking out mentors who can offer guidance and support.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we don't have to figure everything out on our own. There's wisdom to be gained from connecting with something larger than ourselves, whether that's a higher power, your own intuition, or even just the collective wisdom of those who have walked the path before us.
I love that. It's about being humble enough to ask for help and wise enough to seek out guidance from those who can offer it.
And it all ties back to this idea of building a legacy that extends beyond your own lifetime, passing on not just financial resources, but wisdom, values, and a sense of purpose to future generations.
It really makes you think about the impact you're making on the world, doesn't it? Not just in terms of your financial success, but the values you embody and the contributions you make to your community and to the world at large.
It does. It encourages us to think beyond our own immediate needs and consider how our actions today are shaping the world of tomorrow.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a few final thoughts to ponder.
Okay, fire away.
Whether or not you subscribe to the religious aspects of this video, what resonates with you most from its teachings, how can you apply these principles to your own life and financial journey? What steps can you take today to cultivate an abundance mindset, practice generosity, seek wise counsel, and build a legacy that extends beyond your own lifetime?
Those are great questions. And remember, true wealth is not just about accumulating money. It's about living a life of purpose, meaning, and contribution. It's about using your resources to make a positive difference in the world and leave a legacy that inspires generations to come.
That's a great way to put it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. We hope it sparked some new ideas and inspired you to think about wealth and abundance in a whole new way.
Until next time, keep seeking, keep learning, and keep diving deep.